Okay, let's jump right into this explainer and deconstruct how a wildly controversial pop song became a transnational protest anthem that literally collided with real-world cartel politics. We're talking about Michael Jackson's explosive 1996 track, They Don't Care About Us. And let me tell you, this isn't just a story about a catchy hook. It's a fascinating case study in sociology, massive media backlash, and some really intense urban geopolitics.
You know the line, all I want to say is that they don't really care about us? This single, driving chant transforms Michael Jackson from a universally beloved, almost untouchable pop superstar into a completely defiant voice for the marginalized. For a guy who built his entire career on universal themes of unity, we are the world style, this was totally different. He was bruisingly specific here, reframing himself as a victim of injustice and deep societal neglect.
So, how in the world did a misunderstood pop lyric force the biggest star on the planet to negotiate directly with a Brazilian drug cartel? To answer that, we've got to trace the song's incredibly turbulent journey from the raw lyrics in the studio through a massive media firestorm, all the way to a completely unprecedented shoot that basically defied the Brazilian government.
Let's start with Section 1, the anatomy of an anthem.
Long before this track became a global rallying cry, it was a really finely tuned argument against systemic oppression. To grasp the gravity of what Jackson is saying, we're anchoring our analysis in this fascinating academic thesis from Diponegoro University. This study breaks down the song as a masterful critique of in-group versus out-group dynamics in America. The researcher points out that Jackson very intentionally uses the pronoun they to represent the dominant group holding all the power, and us to represent the minority groups actually experiencing the oppression.
And honestly, this perfectly illustrates the core theme of the track. The academic study highlights the crucial difference between prejudice and discrimination. Think of it like this. Prejudice is the negative attitude or stereotype held against the out-group, usually fueled by total ignorance. Discrimination, on the other hand, is when that nasty attitude turns into an unfavorable physical action. The us in Jackson's lyrics, well, they're suffering the crushing weight of both. The text points out how Jackson directly confronts the stereotyping of African Americans. When he sings, "Black man, black male, throw the brother in jail," and then later asks, "Tell me what has become of my rights. Am I invisible because you ignore me?" He is explicitly exposing the deep-seated ignorance that fuels societal prejudice. He's showing exactly how minority groups are used as scapegoats by the system. And Jackson uses this incredibly intense kinetic language to show the real-world consequences of this prejudice. He chants skinhead, deadhead, everybody gone bad, directly calling out dangerous ethnocentrism. Then he declares, "I'm a victim of police brutality now," showcasing the terrifying physical reality of discrimination. He's painting a raw, unflinching picture of a world where marginalized people are completely stripped of their pride and rights.
Which brings us to Section 2, the lyrical backlash.
So, despite Jackson's explicit intention to condemn hate, dropping these raw lyrics ignited an absolute media firestorm right before his History album came out. On one side, you had major publications like the New York Times accusing him of anti-Semitism for the lyrics "Jew me, sue me," and "kick me, kike me." They argued the song was promoting the exact hate it claimed to fight. But on the other side, an absolutely stunned and outraged Michael Jackson argued he was doing the exact opposite. He was stepping into the shoes of the oppressed, told to mirror up to the sheer ugliness of bigotry. Jackson put out multiple statements defending his intent, and while he did eventually apologize and alter the audio, he flat-out refused to abandon the song's core message. Echoing his own lyrics, "Beat me, hate me, you can never break me," director Spike Lee actually stepped up to his defense. Lee argued that Jackson was being completely unfairly punished just for shining a light on society's darkest corners. All right, let's move to Section 3, visualizing the protest. To amplify this totally unyielding message, Jackson and Spike Lee decided they had to visualize the protest. And their strategy was incredibly intentional. They weren't going to just shoot this on some polished soundstage in Hollywood. No way! Spike Lee noted that Jackson specifically bypassed tourist traps to film in real places that embodied the exact structural violence, poverty, and historical neglect he was singing about.
Their first stop was Salvador, specifically the Pelourinho neighborhood. And wow, this really illustrates the depth of the project. Pelourinho was recognized as the very first slave market in the New World. It's literally named for the whipping post that used to sit in its plaza. By filming there, and by marching alongside 200 members of Olodum, a percussion group famous for anti-racism activism, Jackson was rooting his modern pop protest in a profoundly charged site of historical African diaspora trauma.
Next up, Section 4, the Favela Peace Pact.
Taking the shoot to their second location, the Santa Marta favela in Rio, turned this production into an absolute political thriller. The Rio government hated the idea. They were desperately trying to secure the 2004 Olympics and wanted to project this perfect, postcard image of beautiful beaches, not the poverty and bullet-riddled walls of a favela. Because the state effectively refused to provide police security, Spike Lee had to do the unthinkable. His team negotiated directly with Marchinho VP, the philosophical, highly educated, but incredibly ruthless drug lord of the Comando Vermelho cartel, who literally controlled the hill.
Just think about the sheer irony of Spike Lee's quote here. It wasn't the official police force protecting the biggest pop star on Earth. It was a heavily armed trafficker who ensured absolute peace. For 3 whole days, not a single gunshot rang out. The outlaw became the mediator, ensuring total security so the marginalized residents could dance alongside Michael Jackson and actually be seen by the rest of the world.
Finally, Section 5, a generational rallying cry.
That surreal, historic shoot absolutely immortalized the song. It proved that Jackson's willingness to step directly into forgotten territory resonated globally. What critics originally dismissed as some paranoid track actually proved to be incredibly prescient. In 2010, the residents of Dona Marta erected their own statue of Jackson just to thank him for giving them visibility. And decades later, during the 2020 Black Lives Matter protests, the song organically surged back as a timeless soundtrack for social justice. It was chanted in streets worldwide, even prompting Spike Lee to release an updated video blending the Brazil footage with modern global protests.
Toward the end of the song, Jackson sings, "But if Martin Luther was living, he wouldn't let this be." As you think about how these 1995 lyrics practically predicted the social unrest of the 2020s, I want you to ask yourself this. What does it actually say about our world when a pop star has to bypass the official government and negotiate with the cartel just to give a voice to the voiceless? It's a striking reminder that sometimes the most profound truths come from the very margins that society tries so hard to ignore.